Alrighty. Hope you hear me. Let me check my audio. I can't hear myself. Oh, there we go. Okay. uh, yes, we have such a good setup here. I am an expert in technology. Why is this not showing? I go out of studio mode? It's weird. Ah, there we go. Now you can see. Excellent. Like I said, I am an expert in technology. On my stream knows this. Never have any issues whatsoever. Well, hello everybody. I know it's been a while. I've been incredibly busy. Bought a house, planning a wedding, working full time. I just have not had the free time to get on stream. I feel very guilty because the whole reason I want to do this YouTube channel started off with Twitch. I moved to YouTube. But anyways, I started this because I wanted to stay up on read latest news and sharing and just hanging out with people. I haven't been able to do that. It makes me very sad that I haven't been able. But I am here now. I got a new mic, popped over to the Wally world and got a mic only to find it has to be plugged into a micro USB like the one that a has. And my laptop does not have that. Tried to look for an adapter. They don't have adapters for that. I'm sure I could order one online, but I don't have time for that. So I got another one. New mic. Hopefully this works. Let's see. Like one that you mount phone. I don't plan to use this, but it's a mic. Because I've tried recording off of mic from my laptop. That sound very good. So I needed a dedicated mic. Hopefully this one's working. Anyway, welcome everybody. I hope you have been a wonderful summer. I have been serving like crazy. I am exhausted. Trying to set up my house. All the good things. Life is moving. It is progressing. It is evolving and getting better. So this is good stuff. And I hope you're having good things happen in your life as well. Even if it's a little thing. Like trying a new fruit. I tried a new fruit. It's called a plum cherry. A weird crossbreed, I guess. It was interesting. Tastes like a plum, but the aftertaste of a cherry. Nice. Anyways, you don't care about the fruit. Let's get started. uh, how do animals change their social habits as they age? In patterns that may sound familiar, long-term studies reveal what elderly deer, sheep, packs are up to in their twilight years. This is some interesting stuff. Very important, I think. When you think of aging, you don't really think that like their roles are going to be changing. They have to evolve and change with the times, and their roles just grow and responsibilities and all that. Walnut was born on June 3rd, 1995, the start of what would become an unusually hot summer on an island called Rum. Oh, pronounced Room, the largest of the small islands off the west coast of Scotland. We know this because since 1974, researchers have diligently recorded the births of red deer like her. Oh, and caught, weighed, and marked every calf they could get their hands on, about 9 of every 10. Okay. Okay. See, last thing I saw was a monkey. So I thought Walnut was the monkey. Less than Puerto Rico, because I did not read this. See, you gotta read the captions, guys. Gotta read the captions. Walnut is a deer. I was so confused for a moment. Hmm? Macaque in Scotland. Silly thoughts. Near the cottage in Kilmarie, on the northern side of the island, where the researchers are based, there has been no hunting since the project began, which allowed the deer to relax and get used to human observers. Walnut was a regular there, grazing the invariably short clipped grass in this popular spot. She would always just be there in the group with her sisters and their families. So, Alison Morris, who has lived on Room for more than 20 years and studies the deer found. Walnut raised 14 offspring. The last one in 2013, she was 18 years old. In her later years, Morris recalls Walnut would spend most of her time away from the herd, usually with Vanity, another female, called a hind, of the same age who had never calved. They were often seen affectionately grooming each other, and after Walnut died of old age in October 2016 at the age of 21, quite extraordinary for a hind, Vanity spent most of her time alone. She died 2 years later at the grand age of. Oh, this is sad. So she lived a few years without giving. Our old hinds left behind. Terrible, terrible subtitle. Such a shift in social life is common in aging red deer females. Gregory Albury, now at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., who spent months on the island studying the deer during his PhD. Males roam around more and associate less consistently with others, so they are harder to study. Older females tend to be observed in the fewer others. That was easy to establish, he says. The more difficult question to answer has been why we are seeing this pattern and what it means. First question one should ask, Albury says, is whether individual deer alter their behavior to associate with fewer others as they age, or whether individuals that associate with fewer others tend to live to an older age. Hermits for the win. This is the kind of question that many researchers are unable to answer when simply comparing individuals of different ages. But long term studies, like the one at Room, can do so through long term tracking of populations. 40 times a year, the deer are censused by field workers like Morris, who recognize the deer on site and meticulously note where they are and with whom. When they account for the age and survival of the deer analysis, Albury and colleagues found that the link between age and number of associates remains solid. Social connections do, indeed, decrease as individuals age. Might this be because many of the older deer's friends have died? On the contrary, Albury and colleagues found that older deer who had recently lost friends tended to hang out with others more often. They were saying lonely. Your eye is messed up. Female deer called Malin by researchers lived to the age of 25. She was often on her own and, especially in her later years, was rarely seen. Scar tissue in her right eye probably formed after damage to the cornea. A heart shape. So why do old hinds have fewer contacts? Part of the explanation may be that they don't range as widely as they grow older. Studying the deer for a couple of months would not have exposed this trend. It was only revealed by tracking the same individuals through time. Deer with a larger home range generally live longer, he explains. So, an analysis at any single point in time would show larger ranges for older deer and suggest that home ranges expand with age. Tracking individuals through time reveals the opposite is true. Their home ranges decrease in size as they age. It is unlikely that older deer move around less because they are concentrating on the core of their favorite habitat, says Albury. The center of their range shifts with age, and they are observed more often in taller and probably less nutritious vegetation away from the most popular spots. This indicates there might be some kind of competitive exclusion going on. Perhaps more energetic younger deer with offspring to feed are colonizing the best grazing patches. On the other hand, older deer may also have different preferences. Perhaps the longer grasses are easier to eat when their incisors are too warm to clip the short grass everyone else is after. Plus, the deer don't have to bend over as far to reach the longer grass. Three female deer on Room, the largest of the small isles of the west coast of Scotland. Excuse me. A 2022 study by Albert and colleagues in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution found that older deer reduced their contacts more than you'd expect. If their shrinking range was the only cause, that suggests the behavior may have evolved for a reason, one that Albury prosaically summarizes as deer shit where they eat. Gastrointestinal worms are rampant on the island, and though the deer do not get infected through direct contact with others, being at the same place at the same time probably does increase their risk of ingesting eggs or larvae in the still warm droppings of one of the associates. Younger animals need to put themselves out there to make friends, but perhaps when you're older and you already have some, the risk of disease just isn't worth it, says study co authored Josh Firth, a behavioral ecologist at Oxford. Well, that would indicate they know where this may be coming from. Even just the idea that the deer know they're getting it from other deer, that would be interesting. In addition, says ecologist Daniel Nussi of the University of Edinburgh, another co author, there are indications that the immune system of aging deer is less effective in suppressing worm infections, so they might be more likely to die from them. Bad news for old ewes? This was the case in another study Nussi was involved in, on a remote island called Hurta, about 100 miles to the northwest of Rome, where the hardy soy sheep flock on the hillside of Village Bay. Founded and run by some of the same people who started the Room Red Deer Project, the St. Kilda Soy Sheep Project has tracked the lives of sheep since 1995. Unlike the deer, the sheep are caught once a year, which allows the researchers to take blood samples to monitor their health. In the blood, Nusay and colleagues identified an antibody that helps the sheep's immune systems resist brown stomach worm. Higher blood levels of the antibody predict a higher chance of surviving winter, they found, and as animals age, the levels of the antibodies decline. This doesn't mean the decline is causing the increased risk of death, but there clearly is an association. Just as it seems for the deer, it might make sense for older sheep to keep a bit of a distance from the others. 13-year-old Yu is taking a break from grazing on the island of Hurta. She died at age 15, which is near the maximum age documented on the island. She looks wise, squinty-eyed. Though little data has yet been published on how social networks change in aging sheep, one study did reveal that female sheep, like female deer, reduce the size of the area in which they roam. Unlike the deer, older sheep are found in higher quality vegetation, with the possible exception of the final year of their lives, when they might be pushed off of it. This probably has the effect of limiting their contacts, but why would older sheep or older deer, unaware as they are of the infection risk, reduce their range? Perhaps given the physical decline that most aging humans can probably relate to, and potentially higher burdens of parasitic worms of the sheep just don't feel so well. This might cause them to lag behind, move around less, and avoid others to stay out of trouble. This is a behavioral tendency that also occurs in young animals when ill, says Nussi, but older animals may feel this way more often. If this can explain the patterns the researchers have observed, it would solve a problem that has long occupied Nussi, the selection shadow. This refers to the well-established fact that natural selection does not operate as strongly in later life. Since animals of that age have done their reproducing and rearing, and there isn't much fitness to be gained anymore, if elderly animals are just doing what their kind does when they don't feel well, their changing behavior wouldn't require an explanation of involving evolutionary adaptation specific to old age. The first step to finding out what's really going on will be to study how social life changes in the Soay sheep. If a recent application for a research grant is successful, Nusi will collaborate on this with Aaron Syracusa, a behavioral ecologist at the University of Exeter, who has already been studying elderly social networks on the other side of the Atlantic, on the island of Cayo Santiago, less than a mile east of Puerto Rico. Who's grooming grandma? These titles. In 1938, scientists released 409 rhesus macaques imported from India on this tiny uninhabited island. The intention was to observe this species, which is important for medical research, in a more natural setting. The descendants of this population, numbering about 1,800 today, have been studied there ever since, so the researchers know how old they are, whom they're related to, and with whom they have often hang out. Nice. Unlike sheep and deer, macaques dedicated much of the day to affiliating with one another. Can you imagine following 409 macaques around? That's just so many. That's a lot of social networks to keep track of. All the good gossip, you know? Unlike sheep and deer, macaques dedicate much of the day to affiliating with one another. They spend upwards of 20% of their time engaged in cooperative behaviors like grooming, says behavioral ecologist Lauren Brent, also of the University of Exeter. Grooming helps to keep skin and fur healthy and clean. It removes parasites, but it probably also just feels nice, and is therefore a great way to initiate and maintain friendships. These are important in this strongly hierarchical society to avoid being attacked or mistreated. Older females groom and are groomed just as often as younger animals are. Brent and Syracusa have calculated, but they do become more selective. They're really shrinking the size of their social networks as they age, says Syracusa. They tend to focus more on kin and on partners they've long and had strong relationships with. And just as Albury found for the red deer, this isn't because older macaques have lost more friends or because macaques with fewer friends live longer. On the contrary, says Brent, macaques that are less socially connected are more likely to die. Perhaps again, grooming with fewer others is a way for older and weaker animals that aren't feeling too well to reduce their chance of catching infections. It might be safer in other ways too. Macaques can really hurt each other, says Syracusa, in older animals. Wounds don't heal quite as well. Staying close with friends while avoiding others helps to avoid injuries. After Hurricane Maria struck Puerto Rico on September 20th, 2017, destroying nearly two-thirds of the vegetation on Cayo Santiago, the macaques gained another reason to make friends. As shade became rare and proximity unavoidable, a new study by Brent and colleagues recently published in Science shows that after the hurricane, socially connected macaques were more likely to survive. Tolerance went up, even outside the shade, while aggression fell. The Cayo Santiago work also revealed another interesting trend. Macaques that are lower in the social hierarchy lose friends faster as they age. They are more often injured, while dominant ones maintain their position and live longer. It could be an elderly, infirm, hunchbacked, crusty looking old rhesus macaque, and also the alpha female, says Brent. This is eerily reminiscent of human societies in which lower socioeconomic status, lower income, poor living conditions, fewer connections and opportunities is often associated with lower life expectancy. Brent and Syracusa don't think it's appropriate to draw lessons from macaques or red deer or soy sheep and apply them to humans directly. There are obviously many differences between the species, but Brent does see a cautionary tale in these studies of aging animals for medical scientists who conduct studies comparing the health of people of different ages rather than tracking many individuals to find out how they change over time. The former, says Brent, might suggest interventions that aren't really helpful. One example may be the focus today on loneliness in late life, which is inspired by studies showing that people with fewer social connections tend to have more health issues. There may be other reasons why people have fewer friends and also poor health, says Brent. And we may need more inspired solutions to improve their well being than programs targeting loneliness itself. Plus, as we have learned in the pandemic, increasing people's numbers of social contact is not without risk. Currently, decreasing people's social contacts is also risky. This is not so to say, of course, that positive social contacts can no longer brighten the days in our twilight years. Like other animals, when we're young and healthy and natural selection is in force, we are eager to make friends and find a mate, even if that comes at a cost. Then, when we get older and enter the selection shadow, we can afford to be choosier and shrink our social networks to the size of our comfort zone. With little fitness left to gain, evolved adaptations may no longer be helping us, but close friends and family certainly can. That's interesting. Uh, I hope. Hey, Drewski, how's it going? I hope more studies into animals and even people as we age. I know it can be difficult with humans studying long term things. It just, long term for us is so much longer than a 13-year-old macaque, you know? Let's see, what else do we got? Anthropology net. Ancient butchery marks reveal early human presence in Argentina 21,000 years ago. Boom. Pushing it even farther. Let's see what you got. Cut marks on ancient fossils have been identified as evidence of human exploitation of large animals in Argentina more than 20,000 years ago, according to a study published on July 17, 2024. By Mariano del Papa of the National University of La Plata, Argentina, and his colleagues. Revisiting early human occupation in South America, the timeline of early human presence in South America remains a hotly debated topic among anthropologists and archaeologists. This debate is crucial for understanding early dispersal across the Americas and the role humans might have played in the extinction of large mammals at the end of the Pleistocene epoch. The scarcity of direct archaeological evidence of early human presence and their interactions with fauna complicates this discussion. So, they've discovered ancient butchery marks. In a groundbreaking study, researchers present evidence of butchery on Pleistocene mammal fossils from the banks of the Riquista River northeast of the Pampean region in Argentina. These fossils belong to a Glytodont, a massive relative of the armadillo, named Neosclerocalyptus. The team conducted a detailed statistical analysis of the cut marks found on parts of the pelvis, tail, and body armor of the fossils. Go away. Let's see what. Right here. About a centimeter. The analysis revealed that the cut marks are consistent with those made by stone tools. Moreover, the placement of these marks aligns with known butchering sequences, indicating that early humans targeted areas of dense flesh. Radiocarbon dating of the fossils suggests they are approximately 21,000 years old, which is nearly 6,000 years older than other known archaeological evidence of human presence in southern South America. Our findings provide substantial evidence that humans were present in the region much earlier than previously documented. The tool marks on these fossils are indicative of sophisticated butchering techniques used by early humans. These results align with recent discoveries suggesting that humans were present in the Americas over 20,000 years ago. The fossils also represent some of the oldest evidence of human interaction with large mammals shortly before many of these species became extinct. The study supports the notion that early humans played a significant role in the prehistoric ecosystem, potentially influencing the decline of large Pleistocene mammals. Delgado stated the study's evidence of challenges the previously accepted time frame for the initial human peopling of the Americas at around 16,000 years ago. That's a huge push. That's a significant push. The authors propose that further excavation at the site, additional analysis of the cut marks, and more extensive radiocarbon dating of the fossils could provide deeper insights into early human activities in the region. These steps are necessary to confirm and expand upon the current findings, potentially rewriting the history of human occupation in South America. The evidence we have uncovered calls for reevaluation of the early human timeline in the Americas, and said Delgado. Continued research will help us understand the full extent of human interaction with these giant mammals and the implications for human evolution and migration patterns. Interesting. And here, if you ever want to go back and reread the articles I go over or go into more detail, because this is a brief synopsis of the actual report from Plus One, a lot of the articles you gain access to a link down below. I will be providing the links to the articles I read on here. So if you ever want to, go to the Discord and they will be there for you for further research. Yeah, 20,000 is really, really early. I think the stuff we've been finding in like it was California was pushing that, but the really hotly contested um for mammoth out in California that but there's a lot of debate on whether that is. So I think it would be earlier than the stuff in North America. Moving on, skeletal indicators of pathology in the context of early tooth loss in children. Systematic literature review. Ooh, I don't know. Preferred reporting system for systematic analysis, criteria, systematic guidelines. 85 articles were selected. Total of 189 children had a syndrome or disease associated with early tooth loss. A review based on 25 diseases lists the bone and dental lesions observable in archaeological remains. Yeah, studying dentition made me want to take care of my teeth better than I ever did. Like I grew up brushing my teeth daily, you know? But when the dentist would be like, "You need a floss," I'd be like, "Yeah, okay." On occasion, I would. But after doing like research and studying um, dentition and seeing historical examples of tooth loss and abscesses and all of that, I floss daily. I brush twice a day. Sometimes I'll floss more than once. You know, if I have a steak for lunch, I gotta clean my teeth. This is I don't want to lose my teeth and end up with the stuff that I have seen on historical specimens. Whew. Anyways, conclusions based on a review of the literature, a synthesis of 25 diseases and syndromes that may be associated with premature loss of permanent or deciduous teeth. Deciduous are the baby teeth. Deciduous teeth in children was developed by paleopathologists. It highlights the importance of a thorough dental examination by paleopathologists to further assess past health conditions. This paper provides an extensive resource addressing early tooth loss in childhood to assist researchers with differential diagnosis. Interesting. I won't go fully into it. Are there any pictures? I like seeing figures. One figure. Let's see what you got. It's identified through database searching, PubMed, Scopus, and duplicate records removed before screening, records screened, records excluded, full text articles assessed for eligibility. Can you imagine? They started with 9,447 articles and they're down to 138. Full text non available out of 29. Full text articles excluded with reasons. So there were adult cases, no premature tooth exfoliation, no clinical research, no diagnosis, no diagnosis of systematic disease, literature review, Spontaneous tooth loss as a consequence of parenteral parenteral nutrition. Interesting. So only 85 were included. That's crazy. Can you imagine going through all that? Sounds like a blast, honestly. Mm-hmm. Oh no, can you even see? Or is it just because Okay. Go away, stop. Pop-ups. Pop-ups, stop it. Pop-ups. It's not even a pop-up, it's just something on my... You know the little taskbar at the bottom? Where, like, windows can be seen? Mangoes forced you. Yeah, they get really into your teeth, don't they? A lot of pulp. Okay, where was I? Oh, yeah, the Firefox pop showing like the different windows you have wouldn't fucking collapse. Anyways, it finally did. Let's move on. Like I said in the beginning, guys, this is very high tech. I am the best with technology. No issues ever arise. The biogeographical context of human evolution in the East African Rift System. A groundbreaking study published in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution sheds light on the biogeographical context of human evolution within the East African Rift System. Led by Ignacio A. Lazagabaster. Lazagabaster? I don't know, but it's a fun name. Uh, Ramon E. Cajal, researcher at the Centro Nacional de Investigación sobre... Oh my god. La Evolución Humana. This research provides a comprehensive analysis of mammalian fossil records, revealing how climatic and environmental changes have shaped the evolution of mammals and hominins over the last 6 million years. Drivers of evolution. The East African Rift System has long been recognized as a critical region for understanding human evolution. This new study emphasizes the significance of biotic homogenization. I don't know how to say this word. The process by which the faunas of different regions become increasingly similar in composition, as a key factor influencing the evolution of ecosystems and the species inhabiting them. Lazagabaster is a fun name. I'm probably not even saying it right, but it's fun. Lazagabaster explains, by means of beta diversity analysis, which examines the relationship between local and regional biodiversities, we are able to track how changes in vegetation and climate have driven dispersion and extinction patterns over time. Faunal changes and biotic homogenization. The research delves into the late Miocene and Pliocene epochs, approximately 3 to 6 million years ago, revealing that these periods were dominated by endemic species. However, around 3 million years ago, a significant shift towards biotic homogenization occurred. This transition was characterized by the loss of endemic species within functional groups and a rise in the number of grazing species shared between regions. This biogeographical shift coincides with the regional expansion of ecosystems dominated by seafloor grasses, which thrive in warm and dry climates. These environmental changes directly impacted the feeding and mobility patterns of both hominins and other faunas sharing their habitat. Implications for hominin evolution. The study provides new perspectives on how environmental and climatic changes influenced human evolution. Lazagabaster says, given that the hominins were certainly influenced by many of the same factors as other mammals in eastern Africa, this work offers a new perspective on the links between environmental and human evolutionary changes. The integrative approach of this research furnishes a framework for future studies and for testing hypotheses about hominid adaptations to their surroundings. Future research directions. This study not only highlights the intricate connections between the environmental shifts and evolutionary processes, but also underscores the importance of interdisciplinary research in unraveling the complexities of human evolution. By integrating paleontological data with advanced analytical techniques, the research team has paved the way for future investigations into the adaptive strategies of early hominids. In conclusion, the findings of this study emphasize the pivotal role of climatic and environmental changes in shaping the evolutionary trajectories of mammals and hominids in East African Rift System. The insights gained from this research will undoubtedly contribute to a deeper understanding of the factors driving human evolution and the broader pattern of biodiversity in the region. Okay, so found more grazers because the grass changed. Sense, go. If you eat something, it's no longer growing here, but it's growing over there. You're gonna go there to eat, right? At least to me, it makes sense. Science Daily. Human occupation in Southeast Indonesia dating back 42,000 years. Look at that. Everybody's getting pushed back later and later as we find more information. This is just a big puzzle. Another piece, more pieces found. That's good. Keep finding them. New evidence of human occupation in Southeast Indonesia dating back 42,000 years offers fresh clues on the route taken by some of the first humans to arrive in the region. According to a study from the Australian National University, ANU, lead author at the ANU PhD candidate Hendry Kaharudin said the location of the discovery at Elivavan on Indonesia's Tanimbar Islands makes it especially significant. Tanimbar is located just off the Sahul Shelf, which encompasses modern-day Australia as well as New Guinea, he said. Huh. Okay, hold on. I need this Tanimbar. Let's go here. Tanimbar? Is that how they? Sure. Tanimbar. M. Make sure you spell things right. And is this? Let's go to the maps. It looks beautiful there. Tanimbar Islands. Traditional crafts, endemic birds, and pristine beaches in archipelago of about 30 islands. This part of the world's so crazy. It's just so different. Let's see. Um, oh, oh dear. Sorry, I'm trying to do this on a laptop on my desktop. Boom. Here we go. So we got the Tanimbar Islands here. Smack dab in the center. Very nice. Here. The question of how our early ancestors arrived there from Southeast Asia is one of the most captivating in prehistoric migration, mainly because of the vast distances covered and advanced seafaring skills that would have been required. There are two main routes that have been explored as possibilities since the mid 20th century: a northern path via islands like Sulawesi, and a southern track passing near Timor and the Tanimbar Islands. This discovery marks one of the southern route's earliest known sites, making it a crucial piece of the puzzle. According to the researchers, while there are still unanswered questions about Eliveven's first inhabitants, the risky nature of the sea crossings suggests the colonial the colonists had developed advanced maritime technology by around 42,000 years ago. They would have had to traverse bodies of water exceeding 100 kilometers in distance, regardless of their direction of travel. Along with tiny fragments of pottery, we also found evidence of things like bones, shells, and sea urchins that point to the island's role as a hub for early maritime activities. As more work is done in lesser explored regions like the Tanimbar Islands, I expect we'll uncover more about early human life and migration patterns. Mr. Kaharudin said it's also clear the colonization of Sahul was not a single event, but a gradual process involving successive waves of seafaring populations. Coastal communities likely navigated shorelines, exploiting marine sources and establishing resilient settlements along their journey. This island hopping strategy facilitated cultural exchange and adaptation, shaping diverse societies across the landmass. The study was conducted in collaboration with Indonesia's National Research and Innovation Agency. The research team also included Professor Sue O'Connor and Dr. Shimona Keeley from ANU. The research has been published in quaternary science reviews. I think it's just amazing. I hope more and more research comes out of this area of the world. It's just fascinating. They've done genetic analysis of indigenous peoples from Australia and found they've been there for a really freaking long time, like 40,000 years, which is a long time. That is insane to think about. And so coastlines have changed a little bit, but this was still always a bunch of islands. And the fact that they were going this far on their boats is amazing. I always thought that Polynesians and such who made it to like Hawaii and everything. I mean, look at this. That's Hawaii. That's way out there in the middle of nowhere. And it's yeah, they made it there. That's amazing to me. Truly amazing. And they made it on smaller boats than like the English had coming to the Americas. The earliest evidence for anatomically modern humans in northwestern Europe. Let's just. Oh, I don't have access anyway, so I just can only do the abstract. C. The earliest anatomically modern humans in Europe are thought to have appeared around 43,000 to 42,000 calendar years before present. By association with Aurignacian sites and lithic assemblages, assumed to have been made by modern humans rather than by Neanderthals. However, the actual physical evidence for modern humans is extremely rare, and direct dates reach no further back than about 41 to 39,000 calendar years before present, leaving a gap. Here we show, using stratigraphic, chronological, and archaeological data, that a fragment of human maxilla from the Kent's Cavern site, UK, dates the earlier period. The maxilla, which was excavated in 1927, was initially diagnosed as Upper Paleolithic modern human. In 1989, it was directly radiocarbon dated by accelerator mass spectrometry to 36.4 to 34.7 thousand calendar years before present. Using Bayesian analysis of new ultra-filtered bone collagen dates in an ordered stratigraphic sequence at the site, we show that this date is a considerable underestimate. Instead, KC4, which is the name given to the maxilla, dates to 44.2 to 41.5 thousand calendar years before present. This makes it older than any other equivalently dated modern human specimen and directly contemporary with the latest European Neanderthals, thus making it taxonomic attribution crucial. We also show that in 13 dental traits, KC4 possesses modern human rather than Neanderthal characteristics. 3 other traits show Neanderthal affinities, and a further 7 are ambiguous. KC4 therefore represents the oldest known anatomically modern human fossil in northwestern Europe, fills a key gap between the earliest dated Aurignacian remains and the earliest human skeletal remains, and demonstrates the wide and rapid dispersal of early modern humans across Europe more than 40,000 years ago. That's cool. So just changed the way they gathered and analyzed the collagen. Got it. Oh, Chris Stringer. Hey. Okay. Moving on. Next, earliest known human burial in Africa. Again, can only do the abstract. Much subscribe to this journal. Should just bite the bullet on a lot of these. Buy them. Okay, the origin and evolution of hominin mortuary practices are topics of intense interest and debate. Human burials dated to the Middle Stone Age are exceedingly rare in Africa and unknown in East Africa. Here we describe the partial skeleton of a roughly 2.5 to 3-year-old child dating to 78.3 plus or minus 4.1 thousand years ago, which was recovered in the MSA layers of Penga Yasaidi, a cave site in the tropical upland coast of Kenya. Recent excavations have revealed a pit feature containing a child in a flexed position. Geochemical, granulometric, and macromorphological analysis of the burial pit content and encasing archaeological layers indicate that the pit was deliberately excavated. Taphonomical evidence, such as the strict articulation or good anatomical association of the skeletal elements, and histological evidence of putrefaction, support the in-place decomposition of the fresh body. Oh, okay, so they just were able to show that it decayed right where it was. The presence of little or no displacement of the unstable joints during decomposition points to an interment in a filled space, making the PYS finding the oldest known human burial in Africa. That's amazing that it was a child's, too. They have softer bones, they just don't preserve as nicely. The morphological assessment of the partial skeleton is consistent with its assignment to Homo sapiens, although the preservation of some primitive features in the dentition supports increasing evidence for non-gradual assembly of modern traits during the emergence of our species. The PYS burial sheds light on how MSA populations interacted with the dead. Have pictures? I want pictures. Location of PYS stratigraphic context of burial. Oh, that's a bad picture. It's too tiny. Tiny. That one. Still tiny. Very tiny. But you can see convex spine. Anything else? Extended data figure. Lithic. Huh. Lithics with them? Age 2. Extended reconstruction of key events. Okay. That's cool. It's showing how the shift happened eventually, because probably didn't bury him like this with his head sticking straight up. and the body sideways, it slowly morphs that way. Hmm. Analysis of sediment from the stratigraphic sequence in the burial pit. Micromorphological and histological analysis. So, bone analysis, micro. Shells, teeth. This is where they were talking about the primitive traits he still possessed. That's cool. I wish I could get the article. Anyways, last but not least, my friends, we are going on to Homo naledi. A new article has dropped, and people are excited. Like on Twitter, people are talking about this like crazy. So, no sedimentological evidence for deliberate burial by Homo naledi. Case study highlighting the need for best practices in geochemical studies within archaeology and paleoanthropology. So, this article is saying that the species Homo naledi is did not deliberately bury their dead. They're saying that the analysis of the sediment was wrong, and it's spicy because Homo naledi has gotten a lot of um, media attention, and the idea that they were burying their dead in some way was massive. Um, we really only attribute burial practices to Homo sapiens and Neanderthal. Really, I that's it was big discussion, great stuff, and this one's it's been a while since the articles talking about Homo naledi burial practices were initially put out. I was still in high school when they came out. Let's see. Abstract. In mid 2023, a preprint was uploaded by some of the team working at the Rising Star Cave System in South Africa on new finds regarding the hominin Homo naledi. The authors reported what they claim is evidence for deliberate burials by this small brain species and conducted extensive media engagement presenting this claim to the public, including a Netflix documentary that further amplified the claims made in the preprint. Subsequently, almost unanimously negative publicly available peer reviews argued that the evidence presented is incomplete and inadequate to support the claims made. The authors were yet to fully address all of the issues raised in the peer reviews. Here, we present a detailed critical assessment and reanalysis of the geochemical and sedimentological data used by the authors as a cornerstone for their assertion. We find that both the theory and experimental design are not supported by the realities of the sedimentary environment and violate all prerequisites for conducting such a study. The authors do not meet minimum reporting standards for their geochemical methods, a problem stretching back to 2015 through the published material from this research team. Oh, I was not if 2015 was the year I was not in high school. Based on available information, we surmise that there are likely missteps in data acquisition and quantification to inaccurate final data values. We found deep structural issues with data analysis, visualization, and interpretation in addition to mischaracterization and misapplication. Whew. So, misapplication of statistical methods in assessing data. We show that even if the data provided accurately represent the composition of the samples, when analyzed according to field standards, the same data do not support the interpretations, conclusions, and claims made by the authors. We demonstrate that there is insufficient sampling and structured variation in the data sets to allow detection of any difference between the proposed burial features and the surrounding sediment. Indeed, all sample groups fully overlap in composition. We believe that the preprint represents an example of where data analysis has been heavily influenced by a presupposed narrative. In the interest of providing broader utility to archaeological and paleoanthropological community, we offer here an overview of best practices in geochemical data collection and handling for conducting such a study. In conclusion, we argue that from a sedimentological standpoint, there is no evidence a deliberate burial of H. naledi remains. Damn! It's just a slap. They did bad work. They had presupposed narrative, and this is what we need to do to make things better practiced, and bam, just took off the glove and smack. I don't think you want me to read all 67 pages of this. So let's get through the introduction and maybe some uh, images if they have them. Introduction. Geochemical and sedimentological methods are important tools in the paleosciences, widely used in establishing the context of a past event or the formation/disturbance of a site. These analyses are rapidly becoming the standard for the assessment of sedimentary features that may be related to hominin behavior, including investigations of body disposal and/or burial. In June 2023, a preprint was uploaded purporting to show evidence of deliberate burial of the dead by a small-brained hominin, Homo naledi. 2023? No way. They were talking about this way. This work was submitted along with 2 additional preprints to the new peer-reviewed preprint model at eLife, where peer reviews are solicited and made publicly available by the journal. Prior to completion of the peer review process, the authors presented a press release, the result of which was extensive media coverage of this work. Upon their release, several weeks later, the peer reviews and academic response were almost unanimously negative. I remember them talking about deliberate burial, like I was talking about this in undergrad and stuff. It was not 2023. Why is my timeline messed up in my head? What's going on? You don't care. This doesn't matter. This doesn't matter to this article. Okay. Prior to completion of the peer review process, the authors presented a press release, the result of which was extensive media coverage of this work. Upon their release, several weeks later, the peer reviews and academic response were almost unanimously negative, but received little publicity. Berger et al. Provided a single author response to all 3 sets of preprint reviews. In the time since, one large scale peer reviewed comment and assessment of the 3 preprints has been published, along with a peer reviewed opinion piece that further highlights the issue. Here, we present a detailed critical assessment of the application of the geochemical and sedimentological methods used by Berger et al. In their preprint suggesting deliberate burial, which were not addressed in depth by reviewers, the author response, or the published comment. Further, we recommend best practices for this type of approach in archaeological context. We present this work with this assertion that the preprint release to the media is now functionally the version of record due to the decision made by the authors, and is therefore open to published critique. No attempt was made to obtain additional data or records from the authors. We utilize only the information presented in the preprint, as would be the case in any published study. We wish to be clear that this is an assessment of methods, data handling, and interpretation only, and that we do not inherently object to the idea of a small-brained hominin was capable of this type of behavior. I love how they bolded that. Berger et al. Present 2 separate assemblages of Homo naledi skeletal remains that they assert were deliberately buried in the Rising Star cave system of South Africa. One labeled Feature 1 is located in the Denaleti chamber and was partially excavated and partially left in situ. The other is located in the hill antechamber and was not fully excavated. Rather, the sediment block was placed in plaster and removed from the site for scanning. We focus our critique on their more complete analysis of feature 1. Their argument for deliberate burial rests on A. Establishing that the skeletal remains are in a pit that was deliberately created based on field excavation evidence. B. The positioning and articulation of the skeletal elements. And C. Taphonomic assessment of the skeletal remains. We again focus this critique on the first point and hope other experts in the field will address the others in due course. Experts in the field, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Okay. Berger et al. Present the interpretation of intentional internment up front, followed by their evidence. They argue that their geochemical and sedimentological data establish that the chemistry lithology within the burial features is different from other areas in the cave, following the approach used for the generally accepted burial at Panga-i Saidi. We approach our critique in 3 parts. In section A, we assess the author's analysis and interpretation of the data provided in the preprint with reference to the research question. This includes an attempt to replicate the author's results where data are available. In section B, we assess whether the methodologies and experimental frameworks selected by Berger et al. Were appropriate for the research question. Finally, in section C, we assess whether the data acquisition process followed established standards and offer the community a set of best practices for the use of these methods in this context from a scientific standpoint. Okay, keep going. This study replication attempt. This study new analysis. Okay. No locality. Sterile areas around feature 1 on floor. Samples from feature 1. Okay. Section E. Replicating all the data. They gave it all up. Oh man. Good. Hmm. How they did it, how they prepared it, exactly what's going on. This is thorough. 67 pages, people. 60. Oh, down to references. Okay. How many references? Oh. Supplements. On. The supplement includes supplementary figure S1 R code. Oh man. Okay. Wow. I love it. Oh my god, this is so good. They just provided everything. Beautiful. I'm gonna have to like really dig in. Oh yeah. Soil analysis isn't exactly my thing, but I love on here with all this. They provided all the data. I like when people do this. This is good because then anybody can use the same data, replicate the data, analyze the data, come up with their own ideas from it, all kinds of stuff. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Anyways, I remember when the first idea that Homo naledi was burying their dead came out, there was so much um, criticism and hesitation from people to agree. I remember reading the article on it and thinking the same thing, that one, I needed to learn more. I didn't fully understand everything. And then two, I wanted more research to be done. But yeah, so 67-page article here, a lot of data. If you are interested, it will be on the Discord. But that is all I have for you guys today. Oh, there's so much below the water, Drewski. Underwater archaeology is it's a whole different beast. I don't know how people do it, because you got to deal with the water, like the pressure, the damage. You got to deal with all kinds of stuff. It's crazy what people go through. It's really popular out in the Mediterranean, but I think it could be also really successful out in Indonesia area. But what do I know? Not underwater archaeology, that's for sure. I saw a documentary that there was a crew trying to get a statue. They were in the Mediterranean. They were trying to get a statue out from under the water, and just the logistics of doing it. Their boat, which had like a crane on it, broke down, and then they had to get a bigger boat to get the broken down boat out. It was a mess, and it sounds like such a pain, honestly. But I'm sure it's worth it if you get some really good stuff. And scuba diving, I've never been scuba diving. I've been snorkeling, never scuba diving. The places going down there, dealing with the lack of oxygen and the movement. So yeah, that's people are crazy. People really are insane. It's like the um cavers. Cavers are insane too. I've kind of dabbled in that. I would like to do more. That was fun. Things you can find in caves. Super cool. Anyways, as I was saying, that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully, I can see you guys next week. I know I had been doing Thursdays. I think I need to just change the day again. I may just do a stream chance instead of trying to do a scheduled day, because that doesn't seem to be working. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you guys next time.